Hi world, it's me, looking beautiful as ever. I'm here today to talk about boycotting, divesting and sanctioning Israel. That's a really lovely subject to begin your Thursday morning with. The problem is that I've just been feeling more and more uncomfortable about the extent to which the UK is embroiled in this awful situation in Gaza, the worsening situation in the Lebanon. We're up to 3,750 death toll there, killed by Israel in the last year. And yes, Hamas, Hezbollah, they're not angels. Of course, they're doing terrible things as well, which have to stop. You can argue that the last 12 months wouldn't have happened had Hamas not done that. And, on top of that, there is this awful apartheid going on in the West Bank as well. Whilst the world's eyes have been on Gaza and been on the Lebanon, the restrictions in the West Bank, which is supposedly Palestinian land, it is Palestinian land, have just been ramped up and up and up. If you want to know more about the situation in the West Bank, and I strongly suggest you do, there's this guy called Andre X who did an interview with this YouTube channel, Middle East and I. He's a Jewish guy who took a year out in China, studied Buddhism, practiced Kung Fu for 9 hours a day, and then in 2022, he just happened to be visiting his grandparents in Israel when the whole Russian-Ukraine thing blew up. He then decided that he couldn't go back to Russia because he cannot not be political, and for him being political meant criticising Putin, and that for him meant jail. So he did not go back to Russia, and being as how he's Jewish, he is, just with filling in a few forms, can become an Israeli citizen very, very quickly and easily. During the process of finding somewhere to live and that sort of thing, he witnessed the apartheid that was being committed towards the Palestinian people and became an activist on behalf of the Palestinians. And his story and what he's witnessed is very, very interesting, very, very revealing about how brutal it is to be a Palestinian. In fact, towards the end of this interview, Andre X said something that really caught my in the back of my throat and brought a lump and nearly made me cry. There is only so much ethnic cleansing that you can witness with your own eyes before it starts to really affect you mentally in a bad way. In the moments where I feel that particularly sharply, I remember that there are people who cannot choose not to witness it. And so there comes the issue of boycotting and sanctioning. Now, from what I've researched, and again, this is only on YouTube, and some of these resources are very, very old, but from what I've researched, the BDS movement would rather people didn't boycott unless it was part of a more wide-reaching campaign. But that was then. And for people like me, I find it that I don't want to be buying things that are going to be fueling the misery that is being inflicted upon these Palestinian people. The main thing that they're saying to do is to boycott Barclays Bank. Barclays Bank and now Tesco's Bank are the targeted campaigns that the boycott, divest, sanction movement want people like you and I to put pressure on by withdrawing custom. I don't have a Barclays account. I don't have a Tesco's Bank account. Barclays have just acquired Tesco's Bank as well. But they are asking that people close their accounts if at all possible, and to put pressure on them, go and stand outside their branches and stuff like that. And you can find out details. I'm not going to sort of put them here, but you can find out details about how and when there are going to be protests taking place outside your Barclays Bank. Boeing, for example, the BDS campaign, making a big thing about Boeing, boycott Boeing. My last aeroplane, the wheels fell off, followed by the wings. So perhaps I won't go and buy a Boeing 737 this time. Perhaps I'll go and buy an Airbus A321 or something like that, perhaps, and I'll park that outside my house, shall I? Well, no, can't do it. So again, you know, Boeing literally supply the weapons that the Israelis are using, in particular something called Hellfire missiles. The only thing I would say is that perhaps if you are looking to go on holiday and you haven't booked it yet, try and use a firm that doesn't use Boeing aircraft. For example, in Europe, the biggest user of Boeing aircraft, therefore the biggest financial enabler of Boeing, is Ryanair. I'm not saying boycott Ryanair, but I'm saying you may like to think about taking your business elsewhere if you feel strongly about the issue. EasyJet use Airbus. As far as I know, Airbus are not implicated in this at all. But that's only as far as I know. It's pretty hard to find out some of the information. Whilst we're on the subject of transportation and holidays, TripAdvisor, Booking.com and Airbnb are all implicated. They all advertise and lease out, in the case of Airbnb, properties that have been built on Palestinian land that has been commandeered illegally by Israeli settlers. Another quite thorny issue is technology. All of the things that are nice and convenient, like having your GPS so that your watch can tell you your way when you get lost, nice face recognition at the airports so that we don't have to wait in horrendous queues for our passports. It's all nice and automated. Never works with me. But all of these lovely convenience things have all been tried out and tested in Gaza in order to suppress the Palestinian population, to restrict their movement. For example, the face recognition used to track people. Having said that, I'm sitting here talking to you. I'm looking at the screen of an Apple Mac. As I talk to you, there will be people in Gaza and in the West Bank filming atrocities going on their phones and trying to get that out via what little comms still exist there. And they'll all be using the technology that's being used to hurt them, because there really is no way out of it. The big offenders: Apple, Microsoft, Intel, Google, Amazon. We need to make a big mention for Hewlett-Packard. The whole purpose of this video, which seems to be going on forever, is that I wanted to talk a little bit about perhaps what I could do and what maybe some other people might feel like doing as well. And that is just going around your supermarket and just trying to avoid certain products. There's an app which you can get. It's called No Thanks. Now, if you go to your app store, again, without Apple, you'd never be able to know this sort of thing, and you'd never be able to do this thing. There are quite a few no thanks things. I'm just going on here now and just typing in no thanks. The one that's got the great big no at the very top on the green background seems to be the one that works for me the best. I couldn't get the scanning thing to work properly in the one underneath. Let's see if I can try and show you that. The one that's called no thank you. The green one seems to work better for me. But you can nip round your supermarket and you can scan your items and see whether or not the companies producing them are implicated in this oppression and destruction of the Palestinian people. Now, the big, I think 4 or 5 companies that are coming up again and again: Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, Mars, Galaxy, those are the ones mainly, to do with your foods and drinks. Your bathroom and cleaning products and stuff, it's Procter and Gamble and Unilever that are the two companies that particularly come up again and again. I'm visualising my Sainsbury's local up here and just trying to walk round and just trying to tell you some of the things that I was looking at that really that you might just want to think twice about buying. In the fresh foods department, for example, Sabras hummus, right next door to Sainsbury's hummus. Sabras hummus is a produce of Israel. It's on the boycott list. Sainsbury's hummus isn't. Sainsbury's hummus, by the way, is an awful lot cheaper. And herein lies a lesson here that one of the ways of avoiding brands that are implicit in this Israel atrocity that's going on is to use your supermarket brands if you can. Activia in the yogurt shelf, there was a whole shelf dedicated to Activia products, but again, they are on the boycott list. Obviously, your Coca-Cola on your drinks, on your fresh drinks counter where the meal deals are. So Pepsi, 7-Up, Fanta, drinks to avoid. Ribena, surprisingly, are good. As part of your meal deal, you're entitled to a bag of crisps. Walkers, known as Lay's in other European countries and in America, are part of Pepsi or part of Coca-Cola, one or the other. So they're to be avoided. But skips and hula hoops, which I had a little look at, are fine, good for now. Cif, your cleaning fluid, that is part of Unilever, I believe. Unilever, they've done some kind of bizarre deal with Ben & Jerry's because people were campaigning to get Ben & Jerry's out of Israel. I've got to change a few things in the bathroom. Oral-B toothpaste, which I've actually found very good, but unfortunately that's verboten. Colgate, verboten. Palmolive, verboten. That's soap. And Ariel, got to change my washing powder as well because Procter & Gamble is one or the other. Domestos, again. But a lot of these things can easily be switched by moving over to an equivalent thing, but your supermarket brands. The supermarket brands, they either come up as unlisted or as good for now, okay, as green. It's the red ones that you really want to avoid. So this no thanks app then, I think is possibly going to be quite helpful for me. All right, as I say, there's not a huge amount I can do about Boeing. There's not a huge amount I can do about big tech. However, I can choose what I want to buy in the supermarkets. As far as the supermarkets themselves that you buy from are concerned, I think it's really difficult, again, to avoid going to a supermarket. And loads of supermarkets are going to be accused of having things that really ought to be boycotted on their shelves. However, some that come in for some particularly unsavoury mentioning are Asda, because they're owned by Walmart in the US. Walmart, who provide financing towards Israel. Lidl, their owner, is a massive investor in Israeli food startups, and he's also been involved in tech startups, and we know what trouble the tech is causing, and fuel startups as well. Well, sorry, if you think that I'm going to sit by and watch Israel cut the fuel off on a daily basis for 60 years and then have some little man thinking that he can invest in Israeli fuel, no. Aldi, there are two distinct companies for Aldi. There's Aldi Nord, which I think they're mainly in Europe, but they ought to be boycotted for similar reasons. Aldi Sud, which operate in the UK and other different parts of the Western world, are okay at the moment. Tesco's and Sainsbury's are okay. Marks and Spencer's, however, no. Marks and Spencer's were built or founded in the early 20th century with the specific aim to promote the Zionist agenda from the UK. Judaism is a religion. Practice whatever religion you like. I don't care. So throughout the whole of the 20th century, the founders of Marks and Spencer invested heavily in Israel. They imported things from Israel to sell in stores over here, and they invested in companies and whatever in Israel itself. As far as, I think from about 2000 onwards, they have kind of stepped back and just stopped talking about their Zionist agenda. But it came back last year when Marks and Spencer's made their UK Christmas commercial, which was supposedly about, it doesn't matter how you celebrate Christmas, how diverse we all are, supposedly a celebration of diversity. And for a very split second, there was an image of what looked like a Palestinian flag being burnt. It was a scene where Christmas party hats from Christmas crackers were being burnt, red and green ones, and then the whole colour scheme of the rest of the scene around it made it look like a Palestinian flag. They took it out and apologised for it, but I'd imagine that that was some sort of Easter egg that was put there, hoping that people wouldn't notice, but people did. I've gone on a bit on this video, but remember to like, subscribe, share if you dare, consider a super thanks by clicking on the heart down below, and I hope that a lot of you will install that no thanks app. Alright, see you later, bye.